Hey, everybody, and welcome. If you haven't joined us before, welcome, first timers. Please call yourselves out in the chat so that we can warmly welcome you. For this month, I hope you appreciated all of our puns, as we like to do for our Halloween get-togethers. We are creeping it real today.
We're trying here. We're trying to keep creeping it together.
At least I came and dressed appropriately.
You did.
I'm dressed for
I dressed up as a professional, like I was actually going to the office, not working from home. So that is my outfit today.
There we go.
That's amazing. Okay, sure.
That's what it is. We have a lovely guest speaker, Chris Hunter, who will be giving us the down low on the winter release. He will be saying AI at least half a dozen times. So pick your preferred beverage. And every time he says AI, let's all take a sip. And maybe by the end of us, some of us will be hydrated. Some of us will be closer to, I don't know, tachycardia, but we'll be doing it together. With that, Christopher, if you want to introduce yourself, and we will just get started.
Awesome. Let's do it. Well, I appreciate you two giving me the invite. My name is Chris Hunter. I've had the pleasure of working with both Tracy and Christy for many years. So that was awesome. And now I'm at a company called Citron Cooperman doing consulting work for Salesforce. So we'll dive into just some features that I called out in the release. And then at the end, maybe we can kind of get a little bit more collaborative, see some things in the chat, some things that you've all seen and are looking forward to with the release as well. So let's jump into it. Of course, we're going to stick to the spooky theme here, and all the slides will be Halloween themed. So first one that I really wanted to call out, I think dynamic forms. I think one of the things that I love about this is being available now in standard objects and mobile. I think with the move really to kind of that app-based world that we have, right? Like you have apps for sales, you have apps for service, moving away from some of those page layouts. So that great or ugly details page that we used to have, we now have a lot more control with these dynamic forms. And we can actually now deploy them on mobile devices as well as app-based perspectives. So I think this really kind of helps us just optimize that, right? So from a mobile device, instead of loading that long details page that may have 50, 40 fields, we can really kind of customize not only what is in a service app, but what actually loads on service mobile as well. So if we're in the service app, maybe we still have 10 or so fields, within that particular form. But on a mobile page, maybe there's only 3 or 4 that they need. So our field service agents that are out there in the field working during the day may only use 3 or 4 fields, while they're back on the desktop version. They may need that expanded view and maybe working with other fields. So dynamic forms kind of gives us that capability and removes that layer of us needing to assign these page layouts to all these profiles and things like that. With that move to permission sets, I think we're going to start to see dynamic forms really become more utilized throughout orgs and become more of the standard than that actual details page as well. And like I said, you'll go into that Lightning App Builder or the actual page, and you'll be able to see this dynamic forms and then start to set it up. And you can control the visibility at a field level as well, right? So not only from the form itself, can we actually put it within different apps, but if that street address field that's on there or the warehouse name that's on there should only appear when other fields are populated or certain criteria is met, you can actually apply that component visibility down at the field level as well. So I think those are some things that dynamic forms starts to kind of give us, and we'll start to kind of see that. We've seen it on custom objects already, but now being able to kind of do this on those standard objects between the account, the contact, some of those opportunity objects, I think this is going to give us a whole lot more flexibility.
Yesterday, I was in a meeting where someone was talking about how dynamic forms doesn't have the blank space option. And I had never even thought of that or looked for it. And apparently it's not something they're going to be able to deliver anytime soon. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is very interesting. So I wonder how you would solve for that, if at all. You use a flow, maybe?
Things in whole new sections. I don't know.
I saw, so we'll get into it too, in some of the reactive components. I already found some limitations in that one too that I was upset about, but it still worked pretty brilliantly at the end of the day.
Nice.
For
All
dynamic
right.
forms in general,
Well,
sorry, for dynamic forms in
yeah.
general, do the two of you think that like page layouts will ultimately hit a full-on retirement? And then second part to that question, for those of us who have not rolled out dynamic forms in any capacity yet, what pitfalls have you already managed to run into and now know to avoid?
The blank space is an interesting one that I didn't know. So that's definitely, I'd say, a pitfall and something to kind of look out for. I think always my my eyes, I like to kind of have everything aligned. So not being able to utilize that blank space is going to be a killer. I don't know that the page layouts will ever go away. I think they're trying this. They've tried it before with other things. I think it will always be there, but I think eventually it'll just be kind of obsolete from an admin and developer perspective. But I think it will always exist on the back end. It's going to be interesting with their move to permission sets, like what else changes now that we're controlling like field level permissions and things down there outside of the profile level.
Good to know. Good to know.
We had lots of fun comments about dynamic forms. Hans also doesn't like having the blank missing space. Mark says that he uses a formula field to work around that, which is interesting. Emily says she wishes we could hide the section headers like we could with old page layouts.
Yep, I would agree with that.
That's a good conversation. I think everybody's excited about dynamic forms and where they're headed, but yeah, still some limitations that just make more silly workarounds for admins, but that's okay. We're getting there.
Fun. Yeah, we'll do the workarounds for 2 or 3 releases, and then they'll release the update, and then we'll take our workarounds out and we'll apply new ones for the bugs that they still have to fix. So it's the vicious cycle that we all love to live in.
It's job security.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other ones that I think is kind of really cool is obviously the mass actions and kind of the related lists, right? And being able to add those quick actions. I think we've all seen the dynamic related lists already and the kind of the ability to show these different buttons and apply component visibility to when some of these buttons appear. But now the ability to kind of do this in mass, and you see here, you could select a bunch of contacts and update comments.
Oh, we lost your sound for a second, Christopher.
You muted yourself. You touched.
Oh, that's weird. Am I back now?
Yeah.
You're back now.
Okay, good.
Try again.
I've done that before in meetings. But the other, so first the use case, obviously, let me see if I can just go back here. So one of the first use cases, right, update contacts. You have to update those common fields still. So you can't just go in and add 3 or 4 different fields and that's going to kind of update the contacts, similar to inline editing, right? There we have that capability to maybe change the email, then change a checkbox, and then maybe on another contact, just change the email and save it. Here, it's kind of all that common activity. So for this example, you're looking at the case, right? And what it's going to do is actually update that case owner. Now, you also see the status field on here. If you have cases with different data, it's only going to change what you manually selected. So what I mean by that, here, the status is new. Let's say we have some cases that are related to this contact or this account that have a new status and some have a working status. But the only field that you change in this quick action is the case owner. And you're saying, I want to change that to awesome admin. It will not update the statuses of those other cases. They will remain new and working unless you selected a new status field. So it only takes in the changes that you configured on this screen. So that is kind of one thing to kind of call out with the quick actions. And you'll see below, it says the fields to update. It calls out that it's just that case owner. So here, we're going to update those cases that we selected, and we're going to update that case owner from whatever it is to awesome admin. And those are some of the ways that you can use those quick actions in the related list. You can still use them in the list views like we were able to do. And you can also use them now. I believe they just opened it up in the split view part of list views. So we always had them in the standard one, but now in the split view side of it as well, you can use these mass actions that you've set up for that particular object. I think that's all I had on that one. Also, yeah, the dynamic. So the dynamic forms is the biggest one in that. This one I think is really cool, but unfortunately, it's only limited to people that have the unlimited edition and you have to deploy Hyperforce. So if you haven't deployed Hyperforce already, you have to do that for this maps feature, and it's only available in the unlimited edition. Great way to visualize some of your data. Not available for all objects, and you can only plot up to 50 records right now. So it's a very light version of maps, but it's a great way to start to visualize maybe some of the accounts in your region or some more granular data about accounts. It could be in a specific industry, owned by a specific rep. But again, you're kind of limited to that 50 record view. So you really are going to have to drill down into some of your data. When we look at those people in the unlimited edition, it's really those enterprise level clients that probably want to visualize more than 50 records at a time. So it's almost like a little teaser to get into maps. But it is a great way to kind of start to scroll through your data, right? And you can go page by page. So as you can see here, this has, I think, 1,543 records. It's showing those first 50 on a map. As you go into the next page, it'll revisualize that map into the next 50. So won't plot all of them on one map, but you can kind of scroll through and look at the different screens and look at the different plots that will eventually get you to the total, but it's only going to show kind of 50 at one time. So great little teaser for maps, only unlimited, only Hyperforce.
Incredible. That's such a tease, because so my current org, we have Salesforce maps, and this is almost a mean tease, because
100%.
Like this is because with maps, like the ability to add layers to what you're already looking at, this feels mean, honestly.
Honestly, it feels
that isn't where the ultimate goal isn't. You have to pay for more to see what you need to see.
Do you know if you can configure what map you're looking at, or how granular can you get? Like, can I zoom into my territory and see my accounts mapped out in just my territory? Or is it just all expansive like this, which is maybe useful?
You can add a few filters. I don't know. I haven't dove into how many. We haven't had someone that's deployed this yet on unlimited, but I know there are a few filters that you can drill into. And as you zoom in, as long as there's within 50, if there's more than 50 on that map, then it'll start to appear, like allow you to kind of page through. But other than that, that is all that I've seen so far. I don't know exactly what filters, if you can use like cross filters, if it's just and or just or functionality that's in there. I would imagine with the light version, it's not going to let you do too much.
It's interesting, just in the little footer on the map, all the different organizations where they're pulling the map data from too. That's interesting. I'm excited to play with that. I wish it wasn't a feature that was only available for unlimited. I feel like they're doing that more and more. It's annoying.
We don't have many people that have unlimited either. And then I saw at Dreamforce, didn't they just release a new license, like Enterprise Plus, or Sales Cloud Plus or something like that? I saw that they released some license in the middle of two that had a plus at the end of it. So that'll be interesting to dive into and see what that offers.
I mean, I can see this being, even as a tease, I can see this because at least the available objects include leads and contacts. Mm-hmm. So use case could be, trade show's going to be in Las Vegas. If we applied a filter of contacts and leads that are within 100 miles of Vegas and put them on a specific journey of like, hey, drive up and see us and you'll get a free pair of socks. I mean, that lures two of the three of us currently on that call to go and get the socks. So maybe in that way it could be usable. Other than that, this just feels like a tease.
They want you to buy the license. Yeah. They want you on maps. They acquired that company. They need to make their ROI on that for sure. But it is nice. I think the 50 features is nice. I mean, it would have been great to release it for all editions because I think the 50 would be great for that small and mid-market companies. Like I said, those unlimited, I think 50 is just a tease, and it's going to get them to buy that maps license, and that's about it. So the next one that I thought was really cool, and there's two sides to this. So I only put the contact intelligence on here, but there's also service intelligence, right? That kind of goes into things. And this is all available within those list views. So you get it in that professional, the enterprise, and performance, and unlimited editions, of course. And it's that ability to look at a contact intelligence view, and it's all based on the list views that you've set up, right? And it kind of relies on some of that back-end AI data-driven analysis. So there's the first sip. I will stop. But it is all based on similar to the search functionalities that are there, right? So I'm going to try to catch myself and not say that anymore. But you can change those list views that you have and start to visualize this from a contact intelligence perspective. And you have the same ability from the service side as well to kind of have that service intelligence layer. And it's just going to kind of give you some more details about the data that's within that list view. And it's going to allow you to take some actions. Right, you can see on the right there that you have the email, you have the phone button that you can kind of click into, immediately message them, immediately call them. And then at the top, you kind of see what is going on, some activity metrics, as well as what's overdue, upcoming, and how many contacts are on this list. Previously, right below it, right, we used to see that 9 items. So we still see that 9 total contacts, but we get a little bit more detail. We always had that Kanban board view, which I thought was super cool, but now being able to kind of see this from that table view and what they're adding to this from an intelligence perspective, I think is going to be a really nice feature and kind of hopefully, you know, you're going to have those people that still love the Kanban board. That's going to be myself. And then you're going to have people that are going to still love this kind of list view and giving them that ability to get that intelligence that we could kind of see in that Kanban board, right? How many were grouped in each status from an opportunity perspective, what was the total sum, or if it was a case, maybe how many days it was in that status. So we had some of that ability in the Kanban board view, and now I think they'll get some of this ability in the contact and service intelligence. I think this is something that'll grow, right? I think this first release we'll see a little bit. I hope to kind of see more and more information populated here, maybe giving us a little bit more control of what is actually surfaced and what type of AI analysis is going on behind the scenes that may be the most valuable to our organization.
I imagine that this will go the route of like the pipeline inspection tool where they'll add continually more features and ways to filter and interact with the data in these list views, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I would love that. I hope they don't start to require, though, like certain licenses as they do, right? So we'll do that Einstein, that 2-letter word type of license. If you need that,
like
that they require for certain things. Well, you said it anyway, so here we go. But yeah, I think like that, like we've noticed even with, I think Einstein activity capture, that even there, when you want to unlock those metric fields, even within your organization, you need a certain license unless you're on a particular edition, right? So we
only need one of them though.
Which was weird. We had a company go out and I was like, all you need to buy is one sales engagement license or one of like these other licenses, and that's it. It opens it up for the whole org. So very awkward. Yeah, like they should just open that up. But I hope they don't start to do that with this. It's like, oh yeah, now you need one of these licenses to really tap into that AI cheers engine.
Hey, thank you. Now for this, it's sorry, Christopher, I keep having you.
No, go ahead.
It's available for professional enterprise performance and limited editions. What steps need to be taken to enable it and like start playing around with it?
So from what I saw, it should be available in your list view and the ability to turn that list view into an intelligent list view. So it should be in that top right corner. I didn't see anything when I went through the release notes that called out anything that we had to do in setup. But as always with Salesforce, there may be more steps than that kind of meets the eye in the release notes, right? So there could be a couple other steps, but from what I saw, it looked relatively easy, was available within your list view on the table. And in the top right, you should be able to turn it into an intelligent list view.
That's pretty cool, especially for teams like SDRs, BDRs. This list view would help them a lot with their day-to-day.
And if they keep the inline editing in this as well, if like you're allowed to still do that. So that was one thing it didn't call out if you're allowed to do that or not. But if so, I think that would be even better.
Dang, that's really cool.
It does say in the help article that you do have to turn it on and set up and add the button to the contact list view button layout. So just a couple steps, but it doesn't look like there's a separate permission set like there was for Pipeline Inspector.
I know that permission set for pipeline inspection so
It's kind of silly.
frustrating.
If you ever get into consumer goods cloud, ton of permission sets there too. So highly recommend watching out for that. If you come from an integration background, I've done a little integration work. This is probably one of my favorite things that has come into the release. I think within Flow in general, right, we've gotten a lot of integration capabilities that we've seen from the different API callouts that were just started as post or get callouts. Now we've added additional functionality, right? So we can get data and we can consume data as well. This transform shape now I think adds an additional layer, which is really giving us that capability to do ETL and ELT like functions, right? So if we're taking data from Salesforce, we need to do transformations before we make that call out. We can now do all of that in Flow. So it eliminates really some of this need for a full iPaaS solution. This I look at as if you've ever worked with like a Zapier or Workato, things like that, you can probably do a lot of that within Flow now with these different callouts that you have, where you still have a full API first strategy. Maybe you're still using the MuleSofts, the Boomies, the Postmans of the world and things like that to manage those different APIs. But this transform shape, I think, gives us a lot of capabilities, not only from an integration perspective, but even within Salesforce. We see it a lot when they acquire companies, right? SteelBrick was an acquired company that became CPQ, and how that data structure was a little bit different than the standard structure in Salesforce. So sometimes there needs to be that transformation or remapping of data. We saw it with B2B commerce. That was Cloud Craze. They always had their different order objects and things like that that came in. So having this transform shape, I think, will not only give us a lot of integration capabilities, but let alone within Salesforce as well, as you're going through some of that quote to cash procedures, as you're going through some of that warranty type of information or milestones within cases, you have this transform shape to add additional capability to your flow. And there is some light use of formulas within there as well. So one of the ones that you see here is they're subtracting a static value from the total amount. So being able to utilize formulas within that transform shape kind of give you some additional capabilities outside the just map this amount field to this amount field instead. So it's kind of really nice. And then you can also get into the JSON a little bit. So if you are more on the developer side and understand kind of that JSON or XML configuration, you are able to kind of get into that side of it of Flow as well.
Lots of comments on this one. Let's hear. We've confirmed that this is in beta.
Yeah, this is in beta.
Yes, it is.
This is exciting.
I think it's really cool. It opens up a lot of possibilities, obviously. I think that it needs to be used responsibly. I don't think that Flow is the best solution for pulling in and transforming all of your data. And not the most efficient tool probably either. I do think that this comes into play with Data Cloud coming out. And I'm going to say it, all of the new AI tools that are being launched. So I think that we'll see more development here and hopefully more training and input from Salesforce and their enablement teams on use cases and kind of what the more strict limitations would be so that people aren't running into those efficiency limits.
Yeah, for sure.
Data Cloud, I think, is a great call out for this. I haven't gotten too much into that, but it seems like a very exciting tool. And it seems like they basically just rolled Genie into Data Cloud, right? Like Genie was last year's big hoorah, and now I feel like it's basically just all Data Cloud.
It was CDP was renamed Genie was renamed Data Cloud. So
Love it. Yeah, typical. Well, can't wait to see what we get next year.
I feel like they can't change Data Cloud.
Hey, who knows? I thought they could change analytics.
Cloud, I feel like that's true.
I think one of the other cool ones that's near and dear to my heart is commerce, and more specifically, I think really the order management piece is where I see Salesforce putting in a lot of investment. And this is a homegrown app, right? So Salesforce didn't actually acquire this OMS platform that they're selling, which really gives you additional capabilities on that order. I think of the OMS like CPQ for quotes, right? It kind of takes that quote to the next level. This really kind of takes that order and some of those standard capabilities. You get some flows, you get some automation in there that really allows you to manage your order a whole lot more efficiently. But in general, you've got a lot of other things within commerce as well, such as the creating inventory reservations when you're ordering on behalf of, and as well as the search when you're ordering on behalf of. So now searching product names and keywords is a whole lot easier and populates when you're logged in or ordering on behalf of someone, as well as your inventory reservations on the back end. So you can ensure that that inventory is held as you're going through that order checkout. And then the payments, of course, adding more. Venmo, a fan favorite, I think, of my generation, at least. PayPal, probably a generation of my father's, but that's okay.
Oh, damn, I was gonna say that was my generation.
It's kind of, I will give it the in-between. It's kind of that like in-between, like it was there, it's there, we get it, but I'm a Venmo fan, Venmo first, PayPal second for sure. But I think we're seeing all these additional capabilities come into the Salesforce payment from both a B2C, D2C, and B2B perspective. So being able to add these methods and really capture payments easily is going to be crucial for a lot of these storefronts. And then from the B2B and D2C perspective, now being able to add 2,000 lines, I think we heard this a lot from that manufacturing heavy machinery type of industries that are adopting this B2B and D2C models. They have a whole lot more lines that go into it. And especially when you're looking at people that are doing bill of materials. And if you're getting a whole lot of equipment with a lot of little items aligned in there, how does that actually print out? How does the store handle it? But being able to add those 2,000 lines, I think is crucial for those type of industries. And then, like I said, that order management, I still think is a really big deal for us to kind of focus on. I think the biggest question that it starts to answer and help clients with is that WSMO question, right? Like, where is my order? And being able to service that, I almost look at it as, they call customer 360, that whole account view. It's almost like creating an order 360 view right from that order page. So being able to manage returns, being able to manage the assets, the maybe cases that are related to it or things of that nature, it all brings it right into that one view for you right from that order page.
I've never had a customer who's bought order management, but I've always wanted to play with it. I feel like I read, though, the licensing model is really weird, like they charge you per order.
I thought their commerce model is weird too. B2B, now they changed it. It's like a percentage of your total revenue. Order management, we have one customer that's kind of looking into it. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, I kind of want you to buy it so I can play with it. But I also kind of know like we could probably do a lot of this in flow. Like I always say this with CPQ is like, you buy CPQ if you're going to use, I think 75+% of the features, right? If you're going to use less than that, you can probably put it together with flow and the capabilities that we're getting. You can do a lot of this. So if they're just giving us the ability to manage a return, I could probably build out with a few custom objects in flow. What I don't get is all their updates now every quarter that go into it and things like that. And that's always that, okay, build versus buy type of situation. I think order management's still young. I'm excited to see where it goes, but I don't know that too many customers are going to get a ton of value from it today.
For sure.
The next one I thought was really cool, and we have some customers here from the field service side. There's a few different things that they've kind of opened up the capability of doing. One that you see here on the right is this resource management scheduler. So really kind of being able to see those different resources that you have, those different teams, could be by region. You can kind of search those different crews that you need. You can filter down this logic as well, but it gives you a whole different view of how to see your resources, where they're scheduled for and what their appointments are like. And with that, now you have multi-day service appointments as well. So this is a feature on the back end. If you go into your field service setup, you can actually turn on multi-day service appointments. So instead of putting a service appointment on 2 separate days, you can now have one service appointment that goes across multiple days. So it does allow you to have that feature. And then again, being able to kind of see that in that resource management scheduler, it will show you how that resource is occupied over those different days. Along those same lines, now in the Gantt chart, what you didn't have before is the ability to sort by the grade and the color. So now when we're looking at that kind of Gantt chart, looking at our different resources, we're actually able to sort and filter those resources down just a little bit more than the capabilities that were there previously. That sort capability is one capability that wasn't there, that has just come in the Winter 24 release. And I think that just lets you better handle some of those dependencies between service appointments, right? So altogether, now that we can have these dependencies with this resource management scheduler, multi-day appointments, and the ability to kind of sort that different resource Gantt charts down by that grading color, that just gives us a whole lot more visibility from, I think, a manager perspective more than anyone. I don't see this really being for the crews themselves, but I think from a manager perspective, you get a lot more visibility into your team and a lot more control on how you actually start to look at that data. And I still think, again, field service, I think there's a lot more to come in future releases. I think we've seen a lot in the past few releases, and we'll continue to see that. But I think this is a key area to kind of keep our eye on and see what Salesforce does with it.
Good for them, plagiarizing what Excel can do. That's good. That's good.
I was going to say, this Gantt chart, I think, has been something, I don't know, Salesforce probably community's been asking for years and years and years too, to kind of view. But, you know, we want people out of Excel, right? So if we can give you Excel-like features in Salesforce, that's a win.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Soon enough, we're going to roll out Classic 2.0, and we're going to be going off Lightning back to Classic. I hope that actually never happens. I just want to get on the record.
Christopher. Wow, talk about spooky.
Yeah, let's move on to one of my favorite, and obviously no bullets on this one. I don't think any bullets are needed for all of us admins, but reactive components, right? And I think there's a few different ways that we can use this. So one of these features that you see here is just doing simple addition and subtraction, right? So it's looking at the difference between the days that are entered. This is really giving us the capability to do some of these formulas, make some of these decisions in real time, and present that data to the users. I think one of the other things that is really cool, that is something we built for customers that, unfortunately, I don't know if you can see it that well there, but this is a case creation process. And with my friends from Unofficial Salesforce, who I absolutely love, we're actually able to use that reactive component to pass through different filter values. So in that top right section up there, what they're doing is choosing a certain case product. That case product is based on the assets that an account owns. And if they choose that, once we pass that product variable into the case topic, it's now able to limit that list to just topics that exist for that product. And then so on to the next one, we're able to actually pass that one more level down to the subtopic and make sure that the subtopics are also filtered down based on the value that they select. So reactive components not only lets us do some of that simple addition and subtraction, but some of those different things that our third-party friends have built, like Salesforce Labs, like Unofficial Salesforce, they've also made some updates to their packages that allow you to use it in different ways. This being one of those ways that's just outside of that, out of the box, that Salesforce lets you do. I think one of the areas that I've seen the limitation, I tried to use it with a long text field. I forget the exact use case that I was trying to do, but the long text field did not work with the reactive components the way that just a regular text field did, that has, I think, the max of like 255 characters. So that was one area that I noticed it not working. I think we were trying to build out like a comment template based on what they were selecting, and it wasn't dumping it into like the long text box of the flow.
I was doing a project, I don't know, last month or the month before, using reactive components, and currency was not supported, and it was really pissing me off. But I think with this release, it is supported. So project is over, good. But would have been super nice. So I think they added several different field types that are supported now for reactive components. So I'm excited that they're continuing to try to get them all.
Are there still more that you know of that aren't? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Mark Jones in the is saying that long text area reactivity is due sometime next year.
Ah, nice. Okay, that's good to know.
But
are there other fields that we know of that you can't use?
Yeah.
Do they have it documented?
Do you know? I had the list, but I'm sure in the help document it says which ones are not. I'll try to look for it and put it in the chat while you do stuff.
Well, let's keep it moving then. I think the other thing that I love is the permission enhancements. I think moving away from profiles is great. And I think now the granularity or the visibility that they're giving us with permissions is really good, right? So we can now create custom reports on the permission set group assignments. So we can kind of see where all of that is. Also with permission sets, it's going to easily give us the ability to see how many groups it's a part of. So when we look at a permission set, is it part of 10 groups or is it a part of 5 groups? So we kind of know where it's being used or how often at least it's being used. And then you can also now see in the beta version what's enabled from each permission set. So that's kind of what you're viewing over here on the left side. That's now you're looking at kind of those object permissions, those field level permissions that we used to see on the profile level. We're now viewing that at the permissions level. So we're starting to kind of get some of this capability of how we can view and how we can start to use permission sets. I personally have started converting a lot of my profiles over to permission sets. So we're ready to kind of start assigning that and then creating permission set groups so we can start to utilize that differently. Having a sales group is what I envision as being the sales profile, right? All those different permission sets that they need go into that group. And then we can assign those one-off permissions to continue to extend their capabilities just as we did before. But I think that's one transition that's going to be a pretty big one. I probably expect Salesforce to push that date a couple times, but we'll see. But I do think that's something we should all start to get ready for and really start diving into some of these permissions updates. And I hope there's more to come, right? In future releases, I hope they start to do a lot more with this. I think profiles, they kind of just stopped enhancing at some point. Once we got that like enhanced view, that was it. That was like, all right, perfect. This is how you're going to view profiles now. And this is all kind of you get for it. I hope with permission sets there, it looks like they are too, going to take that to the next level and really start to give us a little bit more control and a little bit more view of what is actually in that permission set and what do they actually get access to.
I don't know if you mentioned this later on, but we can also now create report types and report on permission sets and what's assigned.
That, Christy. God.
Oh, sorry. I was looking for the reactive components, I guess. My bad.
It's all good. It's always good to repeat it, right? It always sticks in our head if we say it 3 times. Kind of like the witch, right? If you look in the mirror and say something 3 times, it's going to appear behind you. So keep you with this thing.
Still freaks me out. Every time I go in a dark bathroom, I think about Bloody Mary from like elementary school, and it freaks me out, and I have to leave. I can't even.
Oh, well, you should not. I do not recommend In the Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix. It is a great show for anyone else that's into horror shows, but Christy, maybe stay away from that one. I was just going to start watching it. Oh, it's so good, but stay away. It's there's a bit horror, a bit gory there too, but great show on Netflix for sure.
I just finished watching 4 seasons of the CW version of Nancy Drew, and it was actually kind of scary. I stared at dark corners in my room for a long time while I was trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, no, maybe stay away from this one then. Or watch it during the day. One of the two. I don't know if I think this is the last one. So of course we saved the best for last, but Hyperforce, if you haven't heard about it already, it obviously has already started. There's quite a long timeline. I think they said it was till December of 2024. Someone can fact check me and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's how long they're doing it. And every org is being kind of cycled through. So as you get ready for Hyperforce, there are some things that you have to check. It's very similar things that we had to check when we were going to Lightning, right? And especially when we went to enhanced domains. It's all of that hard-coded URL type of activity. And then there is some additional steps you have to do that are specific to Marketing Cloud. So if you do have Marketing Cloud, just FYI, there are steps that are very specific to that you have to do to get ready for Hyperforce. Other things to kind of call out, not available on Gov Clouds. This is only for the public clouds that it's going GA for. I don't ever see it probably being available on Gov Clouds due to security issues, but it does deliver better data residency and more control of where your data resides, a whole lot more scalability. So I think we've seen a lot of latency when we're trying to use servers in the EU when you may be a US employee. I was hopeful that, I don't know what it was called, Salesforce Edge back in the day. I think I said that for about a year. and it never did anything. Maybe Hyperforce will do what we all hope and expected it to, but it also gives you some better privacy and agility. So I think with all these privacy laws that we're seeing, GDPR, I think the CCPA in California, and I expect the US to adopt a full GDPR type of law as well, that this is just giving us that more control and also giving Salesforce a whole lot more flexibility, right? I think the one thing that they call out is this network is all designed on code and not hardware. So that's one thing that's going to allow Salesforce to even scale faster. I think the main area that we see this in the Winter 24 release is obviously maps. That's contingent on us being on Hyperforce. So I think we'll start to see hopefully a lot of cool features like that kind of come into play as we move into this new infrastructure and network that Salesforce has.
I'm scrolling
that's my house that I live in.
FAQ, and they have a reference to Einstein Analytics dashboards in here, so it might not be the most
Control F and replace. Like, come on,
up to date.
Yeah. For the love of.
That's amazing.
And on that note, we'll just cap it off with AI.
Yeah, drink.
Everybody drink.
Hydration.
We'll have to do one of these at night so that we can drink something
Happy
else.
hour.
But that was awesome. I feel like we should have more guest people present their favorite release things, because you picked totally different things than I would have picked, and I like it.
I would love that. I think there's a whole lot more to the release. Like, I always focus on just things that I do. I spend a lot of time in Flow, so that's obviously near and dear to my heart. And then Commerce. So I tried to actually go through. It's not like word for word for my blog, because I was like, oh, this is all my favorite stuff. Like field service, clearly, as you could tell, is not something that I am an expert in. But I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, those are cool features. Let's kind of call those out. So I did change it up a little bit, but for sure, I think I'd love to hear like what everyone else is doing. And then like how you plan on using it. I always feel like it's the cool thing, right? Like, yeah, coming out, seeing it is great, but now how did you actually use that to like solve it? So like how are we using with the reactive components or some of this transform shape? I'd be interested in like data cloud and how that plays into that for sure.
Oh, I think we're going to see plenty of hacks with reactive components as we start to get used to them. There's a lot to manipulate there.
100%, which could be good or bad. I wonder how flows scale as you like, does that affect, I guess it would only affect the one screen that it's on, right? It shouldn't affect the entire flow per se.
In theory, whoever breaks it first gets to talk at the next session.
Let's do it.
That's a good one, Mark, the custom error message component in Flow Builder.
Oh yeah, I did see that. That
What
is
is
nice.
that one?
So that you can send normal messages instead of 97-digit error codes that you need to show to your admin.
My favorite one is the one that's like, oh, just reach out to Salesforce support with this error code, because we don't really know what happened either. So
yeah.
Go and talk to the support team.
That's amazing. I've been doing a deep dive into Data Cloud this week, and I'm trying to find someone who could come do a talk on Data Cloud and what people need to do to get ready and use the new freemium model and stuff, because I feel like that's going to be everybody's stepping stone into AI.
I didn't even know they had a freemium model.
Yeah, so they announced that at Dreamforce you can harmonize up to 10,000 people for free, which is not a lot, obviously, for large companies, but it's enough to get your feet wet and start playing with it and do stuff. So I'm excited to start playing with that. But it does seem like all of the generative AI stuff does start from Data Cloud. And also, I'm really excited about Einstein Copilot, just so I can make everybody bumper stickers that says Einstein is my Copilot, like the Jarvis is my Copilot from Iron Man. I'm really excited about it. Nice. I've made a graphic already.
I think some of the AI features just in general, I think are huge. I think the generative AI, well, now here we go. Oh boy, I'm just going to wait till I'm done with this. But I think the generative AI is just a phenomenal feature and very easy to implement, right? The predictive stuff is a whole lot harder, takes a whole lot more data, but the generative stuff, I'm not going to say it anymore, is at least a whole lot easier to implement, right? You could do it with 5 cases to summarize that data. You don't actually need, what do they need for the predictive? I think it's minimum, like you said, 10,000 rows, but really they hope you have millions of rows. So with that, generative AI over predictive AI.
This is a fun game. We should do this every month.
With that being said, I am super hydrated, so we better wrap up. Thanks, Christopher, for his
wrap this up. Okay, I don't know what we're doing next month yet, but we're gonna figure out and we'll get it posted. And hope you guys join us. Thanks, Christopher.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining today.
Bye, everyone.